Could SA Rugby lose Rassie Erasmus? That is the headline for the week, with confirmation that talks between Rassie Erasmus's lawyer, Rassie Erasmus, as well as himself, and SA Rugby have been put on hold with regards to the contract renewal that is set to potentially take them up to the next World Cup after 2027, which is to 2031 in the USA. Now, the talks have been put on hold due to the end of year tour. However, there are apparently some very big offers on the table for Rassie Erasmus, given the fact that he is probably not even arguably the best coach in World Rugby at the moment. I don't think that that's even up for debate. Though, there was the fact there's only one coach of the year once is ludicrous. But the way the Boks are playing, the way he continues to evolve and evolutionize the game, he will be the most sought after coach in the world. And his coach has actually said that he'd be interested in potentially other challenges. So before we get into this, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so this is what's been reported on rack.co.uk, saying that Springbok's in danger of losing Rassie Erasmus to the England job. Now, let's go through exactly what we know and kind of what's being reported. So that there is a report from a report saying that Ricky Erasmus is pushing for a new deal to 2031 to make sure that Rassie and his full coaching unit remain until the USA World Cup. Apparently, the big stepping stone or the big thing is not the issue of actually tying down Rassie himself. The issue is his coaching staff, and the fact that he wants to tie down the entire coaching staff. He wants his group to stay with him, and that apparently is proving to be a bit of a tricky one. So the article says that SA Rugby are desperate to keep him, obviously, given what he's done. But the problem is Tony Brown apparently is becoming a bit of an issue in that there's also big offers for him. And there was reports that if Jamie Joseph had gotten the All Blacks job, that he wanted to bring in Tony Brown with the All Blacks. And obviously that's somebody that Rassie Erasmus is really leaning on at the moment. So it sounds like the issue is not so much keeping Rassie Erasmus, but rather keeping his coaching staff, and whether Rassie is happy to renew and continue if his coaching staff does not come with him. So that is what basically he's the issue is at the moment. I don't think money, for example, is going to be an issue. Pay him what he wants. The question is, though, he'll obviously only extend under certain conditions, and having his coaching staff is one of them. And if they can't deliver that, then maybe that might become a bit of a stepping stone, or even maybe become the final hurdle that you might not be able to get past. In terms of where Rassie Erasmus would go if he were not to not renew, he can go where he would like. Now, he's spoken previously about the fact that he would love the opportunity to coach England. And obviously that is probably arguably, I think there's the three hardest jobs in World Rugby are England, All Blacks, the Boks. At the moment, I think England's arguably the hardest in terms of it's just been so cutthroat, and they've been such perennial underperformers in the last sort of decade that they've just not been able to kick on and win the World Cup since 2003, for example. They've had Eddie Jones, Steve Borthwick now is under pressure, starting to come good, but every single time you lose, I don't think any job gets scrutinized maybe as much as the England job, because even if you're winning, people then talk about the way you're winning and the style of rugby and the players you pick, for example. And even Borthwick, when he's been winning, for example, and got to the semi-final in the World Cup, he was still slated. And about the style of rugby they then played and some of the decisions they made. So I think in that regard, that's where Rassie, I think, probably sees the challenge, because I think that's one of the hardest jobs to perform to the standard of what the media, the public, and the RFU themselves will accept. Because they've got very scathing media. If you look at like South Africa, for example, it's far more, and that's where Rassie and Jacques Nienaber did a very good job of getting the media on side and on board. But they're far more forgiving. If you look at the UK media, it's cutthroat. And apparently the New Zealand media is moving towards that direction as well. And we've seen that with the slump that the All Blacks have gone to, inverted commas, in the last 10 years compared to what they were the previous 10 years, has meant that there is more pressure on that. And I think that, you kind of look at a poison chalice as an opportunity. And that's probably where Rassie Erasmus really looks at the England rugby and goes, I could turn that around. And I think that he probably would be able to turn it around. Maybe not to the extent of the Boks. I don't think he'd be able to build what he's built with the Springboks. I don't think he's kind of got that innate connection. But he's definitely got the innovation and the coaching pedigree to do that. And the one thing that England Rugby will be able to offer him that SA Rugby can't offer him is stupid amounts of money. I mean, he'll be on a fantastic contract with SA Rugby. If he went to England tomorrow, he'd be the best paid coach in the world. That's the kind of money that they have to offer, for example. And it is life-changing money, in fairness. So at this stage, I don't think we're at risk of losing him. But if, for example, any of this doesn't pull through, for example, then we could lose out. And I don't think we will. I think he wants to stay, and I think that, obviously when you lose to a Wallabies, for example, and the way we started the year, people are going a little bit, ooh, are we quite where we are? And then we've had the last 2 or 3 months, and now everybody's saying, he can sign until 2050 at this rate. And he wants to. But it'll be interesting to sort of see how important the coaching staff around him is and how much of that is genuinely a factor. For example, if they sit there saying, well, we can't give you other coaches that got a contract, is he going to fall on the sword and say, well, if you don't bring my coaching staff, I'm leaving? Personally, I don't think that a Dion David's going anywhere. Zwandile Stick, I think, is an interesting one. I think at the moment, he said his job is to support Rassie and do whatever he needs to support Rassie until 2027. I think he might be fancying a head coach job, to be honest. I think if I was the Sharks, I'd be throwing money at him. I would really be looking at saying, surely they can bring him in. I think he's exactly what the Sharks need. And I think Zwandile Stick has said he wants to potentially be a head coach. I think his dream, his ambition is to coach the Boks one day. I think he could get there, to be fair. He's still a young coach. He's still got plenty of time. He needs to get the head coach experience to a certain degree. So I think that he, for example, will probably stay, but he is a potential one that might make a move. Felix Jones, his ambitions, for example, he's come back to the Boks, but is he going to commit to another 6 years, for example? I don't know. Andy Edwards has been around for a long time. I don't know how much, is he, for example, still committed to 6 years, or is he going to look to go back to Ireland? I think your Jerry Flannery, for example, I think he will do 2 more years and then probably look at that. Tony Brown's a big problem because he's also under in a lot of demand, especially the way the Boks are playing. So I think it's going to be quite difficult for SA Rugby to tie down all the different coaches. Dwayne Firmino will be around. Dion Davids will be around. I don't think Don's going anywhere. I don't think Felix Jones is going anywhere just yet. I think he kind of obviously left and had that experience. But if Andy Farrell goes tomorrow, there'll be big links between Felix Jones and Ireland. And it becomes difficult to say no to coaching a national side. Similarly, for example, Tony Brown, he gets an opportunity to become, to do his role, but for the All Blacks, emotionally, you obviously got that connection. So that could be the stepping stone. So that's the situation. Right now, I don't think we're going to see a news headline saying Rassie Erasmus has left. But I think yesterday we need to be very aware that the offers are on the table. And that, he's got, if they don't tie him down, he's not like, for example, he's got all the bargaining chips at the end of the day. He's got all the cards. He holds all the cards, because if he says no, for example, they can't do it, he'll walk into a job tomorrow. Any job he wants, basically. But what do you think? Will we be able to keep all the coaching staff? Will he renew? When do you think we'll hear the news? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.